Kia ora, Year 11 and 12. This is the first coordinate geometry video, and this one's going to look at how we find the midpoint between 2 points. So this is a really easy skill. We're going to quickly come to a formula to make us able to do it very fast. But first we're going to look quite slowly at this simple problem here. So we want to find the midpoint of these 2 points, A and B. We can see by eye roughly where we want to be is halfway along this line. And we're going to end up here. In this example you can see it because I've picked really easy numbers. So let's look at what's going on in both the x direction and the y direction. So my x values, my two endpoints are 4 and 12. So we want to be halfway along the x values. We can see that we're starting at 4 and we've got a gap here of 8. So half of 8 happens to be 4. So we're going to add that on to the 4. And I get 4 plus 4 is 8. Now look at the y values. I've got 10 up here and I've got 2 down here. We want to be halfway down here, so this gap is 8. Half of that is 4, so we need to go down 4 units and we'll get to 6. So my midpoint is going to turn out to be 8, 6. Which is exactly where I put it by eye. But we don't want to have to go through all that palaver every time. So where we pretty quickly get to is if you have a look and see what was going on with the 4 and 12, halfway between those 2 points is just the average of those two. Halfway between the 10 and the 2 is just the average of those two. So on the next slide we're going to see our first formula for coordinate geometry. And that's this. If we've got 2 points, and we're going to label them like this, x1, y1 and x2, y2, then the midpoint of the line segment joining those 2 points is going to be this. The average of the x values and the average of the y values. Okay, so we've got 2 more examples to do here, and then I'd like you to go and do theta exercise 1.01, every second question, and the Walker workbook is also really good, starting on page 9. Okay, so I'll call that WW. But first we'll do a couple more examples. Okay, so here's the first one. Find the midpoint of these 2 points. So you'll see that they're in this quadrant of the graph. This one down here. So the midpoint will be 3 plus 2 over 2 and negative 3 minus 5 over 2, which gives me 2.5 and negative 4. We can mark that on the graph. So it's going to be 2.5 here and negative 4 here. It's always worth doing a sketch and checking back to see that you haven't mucked up your signs. One more to go. Right, so one last problem, and I've used decimals this time. Remember that this is our formula. So all we have to do is to substitute into this, and we'll get the midpoint. Just be careful here, we've got a negative number here. So x1 plus x2 is 10.5 plus negative 3.8, which is just minus 3.8, divided by 2. And on the y values, really easy, 6.1 plus 0 over 2. Now we can't leave it like that, we have to get a real point on our graph. So our x coordinate works out to be 3.35 and our y coordinate works out to be 3.05. Let's check that that makes sense on the graph. So that's going to be here. Here's 3.35 is around here. 3.05 is up here. Yep, so that looks good. Now just look at it and see if it looks like you've split that segment in half. If you muck up this, you're going to get a number that's out around 7, so you're going to see something weird like a point here. It won't even be on the line. It is well worth doing that check, especially in the internal. Just make sure you've got the basics sorted out first. Thanks for watching, and remember, go and do some practice in theta or the Walker book.